Recording has started.
This is actually the first time that I have that we have had an event at the lunchtime. At least that I remember. So we're trying to see how it works. Um, Everything that we're doing for gigs is always part time. Hey, Oscar, nice to see you, man. Um, but Anna thought like, yeah, why not having like a lunch break and talk about next year? So let's see how it goes. Let me start sharing my screen. So you let me know if I'm sharing my screen correctly. Nice.
I can see that.
Nice. I love those saying connecting from home. So ambiguous. I'm also connectable. So I think we can start actually. Let's do it, Anna. I'll take it from here. You can mute. Yes, beautiful. That bumpy jumping sound in the backstage was. So it's nice how we actually get to do people like Olfo or Charles, like if we know who they are, like people that belong to the industry that where we are, like I don't know, myself or Olfo or Charles, like people don't really know us. I mean, some people know us, of course, but they don't really get the amount of experience or background or seniority that you have. We're not aware. Like if I'm jumping in here for the first time, I wouldn't know who you are. But Rodolfo pretty much is. I remember when I spoke to Alejandro about Rodolfo, he's like, well, if you think that I'm a good developer, like if you think that I'm a good developer and I have like, I don't know, 20 years of experience here, well, Rodolfo is like 100 times better than me. He's like the senior master guy behind what we are creating and part of the software engineering program that we are creating, and the amount of experience and seniority and capability that you have, it's impressive. So people should be really glad, and you should like write down questions to Rodolfo or Charles. Charles on the other side is like the leading guy in AI, at least in Florida, I'll say, not just in South Florida. I remember that I think I know you, Charles, from at least 1 year or something like that. But I remember one of the latest opportunities that I shared with you, an event with Beacon Council. Somebody from the Beacon, it's all formal and super senior guys at Beacon Council. And pretty much, I think Charles, maybe two other guys and myself are the youngest person over there. And the way they introduced you, I was so proud to be related to you. And the product that you show, Charles is the CEO and co-founder of Strata, and he has been building for COVID, because of COVID, and as a consequence of COVID, a beautiful project that is trying to help, well, many organizations, but the first time that I saw it was aiming to be implemented in the city of Miami, a platform that is helping those organizations to detect when social distancing is not being respected. You are, and all based in AI. So no people, no, I don't know, no people people behind camera saying all AI. I think there was the intention was to have a speaker making a noise when somebody was approaching so much to know. I also recognize when people were together and where people were not together, actually approaching too much. So it was effective. And the main reason why Charles on one side and Rolf on the other side are here with me today is because for Geeks has been working in implementing and bringing more programs, more coding programs to the ecosystem and to the offer that we have. Part for Geeks has been focused on full stack software development. That's how we started. I also remember one of the first meetings I had with Alejandro back then. Alejandro is, by the way, I'm sorry, I introduced everybody by myself. I'm Marcelo Ricigliano, I'm the co-founder of 4Geeks, and I've been leading the program with Alejandro since the beginning. And the people that I'm referring to, Alejandro is the other co-founder. So when we started 4Geeks, we were coming from another couple of startups initiatives that we had before. And when you start launching startups in the tech industry, at least how we did it, he was doing a couple of them on his side, on his own, and I was doing another on my own. But both of us were having startups that were offering a lot of things, like in software, you can build a lot of things. You can build for you, for somebody else. You can build a platform, and then that project brings like 4 child, and then you have 5 different programs or projects or services or products being offered. So when we started for Geeks Academy, we were like, yeah, we're just doing one thing, like only one good thing. We're going to be focusing the next 3 or 4 years in building the best full stack program that we can have in a part-time methodology. Why part-time? Well, because we understand that people need to keep their life ongoing in the meantime. It's, of course, we have full-time. Well, some people here taking the program or about to take the program already know that. We have full-time, and of course, we have to have full-time because it's part of the business. But our main strength is in part-time. So we were creating the best part-time full-stack program in the city, and I think we have been succeeding in that regard. Why? Well, because of this. I normally don't talk about 4Geeks in these terms, but I'm also proud, so I don't have to hide it. We were named one of the best coding schools in the world. Actually, that was quite surprising because we didn't pay for that. You know, it was unsponsored. We didn't pay to be recognized. And also we were named one of the top 10 schools in the U.S. We're certified by the Department of licensed by the Department of Education as well. And the job that we have been doing is kind of regulated in the state of Florida. So on a yearly basis, we have to go through them in order to keep offering the program that we have. So everything that we have, everything that we offer, it has at least that stamp, you know? We're not just launching things out there to see how it goes. But I was saying that we started with a full stack, and now in 2020, when we started to realize that COVID forced us to have online education as well, we didn't believe in online education before that, as many of you probably, because we wanted to have people in our schools, and then we started to open cities and locations in South America and Europe, and we love to have people in our school. But then we were forced to, right? And now we love it, kind of. Yeah, we kind of like it. Why? Because it's easier for everybody to join. In places like Miami, for example, and big cities, moving from point A to point B is time consuming, it's expensive, and that time can be used in coding, in learning, becoming a better professional. So that's also one of the reasons why we also love online education right now. And that, oh my God, somebody is receiving a call. It's not me. Yeah, it's not me. So then we started to think, what should we offer at the same time? Like, what else? You know, if this is the right time to start offering more coding programs, specializations, and also we realized that our community needed more. And the main reason why we are here today is because Anna and I were thinking about, hey, how's 2021 going to be? And the main answer was, I don't know, because if we learn something about 2020 is that we know nothing. No, we know nothing themselves. We know, like, if you have to plan for your life or for your business or for your professional career, you have to take small steps, you know, small steps, one step after one step, because it's super hard to be thinking forward right now. When we thought that we were almost getting rid of COVID, then it's the mother of God super wave right now everywhere. So step by step. But we do know some things. We do know that the tech industry is pretty much one of the biggest and most reliable industries in the world, because everybody can be performed and achieve using technology. Every single business in the world is either tech-based, like either it's a technology company or it uses technology to reach out and to improve and get better, or to get to customers, either way. Um, and we found 9 trends. Um, well, it was actually a report that was published by Gartner and Forbes about the 9 trends in technology that is expected to happen in 2021. And guess what? Everything is related to technology. Either we're talking about AI consolidation or consumer experience improvement. There's a term that I love that is total experience. Businesses are going to be transforming their business using a term that is called total experience. That is actually putting everything all together in a way that is customer centric and technology centric. So the way that you are approaching your clients, your network, your in our case students, and the way that you deliver the process or the product or the service, the way that you act is actually through technology. And then we'll look at what are the highest paying jobs in 2020 and 2021. And guess what? All of them are related. All of them brings the word developer, and not the traditional way of development, like not building buildings, like not developing buildings. It's actually a data science developer, a full stack developer, a lead app developer, a software engineering position. So everything is related to tech. So what we started to think is that more than ever, skills are more valuable right now than anything else. Even knowledge. There's something that we say in For Geeks that is a little bit tricky to. It's complicated to say, to put it in words, but it's actually real, because we do believe that you should focus on your skills and not in knowledge, and that's ironic, and that shouldn't be said in that way, but it's actually true, because if you start putting so much time of your time into getting knowledge and not being practical or getting new skills, then that knowledge will put you in a position where you are not going to be able to put those skills into works because you don't have skills. That's my fight against computer science degrees. That it gives you a lot of knowledge sometimes, and every time that I say something I don't know, ironic or controversial like that, I'm speaking in general terms, of course, not in absolute. If you go to college and to take a computer science, you're spending 4 or 5 years in getting a degree, but you're not really getting a skill some of the time. And then it took 5 years to become a computer science. So yeah, so Roger is asking a question. I'll be addressing questions throughout the conversation, but actually we can ask that question to either Rolf or Charles if you feel like. I'm about to give you the word, guys. And finally, we also started to think about, to realize, not to think, that there are new ecosystems being built. Yesterday, I don't know if Charles, you were there, but the mayor of Miami, of the city of Miami, had like an event, a public Zoom conference with anybody willing to join. And there's something happening in Florida that is bringing the attention of the tech industry in the US, but also pretty much worldwide. Because we believe Miami is expensive, the people that actually live in Miami or deal with Miami. But actually, it's not as expensive as the tech hub, San Francisco, New York, Boston, and so on. So people are starting to think that Miami is actually a great option because of the weather, because of the thinking about climate impact, housing, tech, startups, tax, network, talent, mixture of people and backgrounds. So Miami is actually more than ever becoming a tech ecosystem in the US, and that's being built right now. So if you want to belong, this is the right time to start getting into it. And what happens with that? Well, there's a lot of jobs that will be created. For Miami, and for the, well, not only for Miami, actually for the whole South Florida area. And also, what is also happening is that a lot of the people graduating from Miami with the skills are getting more and more jobs remote. Again, because people from other big cities are starting to think like, yeah, we should hire remote people from other cities that are not as expensive. Just to give you an example, a full stack developer coming out of 4 gigs normally makes around 50, 60K as a junior developer if it's being hired in South Florida. That same guy is it doesn't matter if graduates from 4 gigs or from any other school, finds a job or gets a job in San Francisco or in New York, you are watching a 6 figures already. And they have to because it's absolutely expensive. So you need to make that amount of money in order to have a decent life over it. So that's increasing the amount of jobs that are being posted for remote jobs. And there are 3 ways. I wanted to go back here. So there are 3 ways that you can start addressing this new 2021 ecosystem and industry. Well, at least there are 3 ways that we have. Probably there are more. But if you want to start belonging to the industry, you need to to go step by step, right? So if you don't belong to the industry, you should start with a full stack. That is something that we have been doing. I started mentioning that the full stack program. That's you're putting your foot into the industry. So it's your entry level opportunity, and you can start making 50, 60K coming out of Oregon. Sometimes people will say, yeah, but that's not enough. I'm making more already. Well, first, that could be true, but it's not true for everybody. And then the way that it grows in the next few years, like the more experience you get in coding, like an experience being measured in a different way. Like I graduated as a lawyer. Seniority comes with 20, 30 years into the industry, being a lawyer. In the tech field, seniority comes after 3, 4 years. You know, you could be considered a senior developer, even if you're really committed and really good at it after 4 years. Not as Rodolfo, of course, he's like a super senior guy, but in general terms, you can even get a senior level position after 3, 4 years. So that means that the way that your wages increase over time, it's faster than in any other industry. And then it takes only 4 months. You know, like whatever we thought before, it will take us like, I don't know, 5 years or 3 years to get into that position. Now it's super fast. And then you have the software engineer. And now I'm bringing you also to talk a little bit about the software engineering program. Of course, by introducing yourself and maybe a brief introduction on why you believe software is here to stay and your experience as a software developer so far.
Sure, happy to do that. Thank you very much for inviting me to this conversation. It's really brilliant for me. I'm currently based in Madrid. I'm originally from Venezuela. I studied there in Caracas. I actually was a professor. I think I gave classes to Alejandro at some point. I'm not sure about that. I think
you were.
Yeah, right?
You were his teacher.
At that time, I had a company and was a professor at the university, so it was very interesting. And then I moved to Madrid, and then I moved back to Venezuela and then to London. But the long story short is I'm a software engineer, as far as I would like to recognize myself. I'm currently working for VMware. It's the company, well, this is a Fortune 500 company, which is part of a Standard & Poor's sustainability index. And just to give you an idea, more than 90% of the companies, the 500 Fortune, 90% of the 500 Fortune companies rely the infrastructure on top of VMware products. So it's a very interesting thing to be part of this team. I am coming specifically, like especially now, from an acquisition of Pivotal. I was working for Pivotal when VMware acquired us, and Pivotal is one of the main contributors behind Spring, one of the most important projects in the Java community. So, and I'm a solutions architect, so that means you need to be a good software engineer, but at the same time you need to have like C-level skills, what we call in the industry soft skills. So you would be able to have a conversation with a CTO or a CEO and explain what are the plans and where you want to drive or where you're aiming. So that's kind of my background. And right now, about the software engineering course that we're preparing, Alejandro was like super clear with this idea. I'm building the program with Alejandro, Paolo, George, and it's a wonderful experience. And one of the things that Alejandro said in the beginning is, I want to create something that enables people to find a job for one of the Fortune 500 companies. Oof, that can be a challenge. So that is an amazing challenge. So I just said, okay, let's do it. And so at this moment, of course, if you're gonna like try to build, let's say, enterprise applications, you need to have many things in mind, right? Like an enterprise application would be Gmail. You have certain logos there, like it can be, I don't know, Siri or Alexa or I don't know, Gmail or Google Docs and from Microsoft, I don't know, Outlook or SharePoint or whatever. So if you want to build one of these type of applications, you should be you need to keep in mind that you want to create a highly distributed application that needs to be highly available. So that means you starting to touch into the cloud native territory, which is applications that were built with the cloud in mind, right, from the very beginning, or at least were built before, but you're starting to modernize these applications right now. So that's kind of a thing we're aiming to. So just going into the slide, we have like, well, I guess this is kind of a tentative thing right now. We're still shaping it. But we have this pre-work of Java. It's not because Java is the language for the Fortune 500 or whatever. It's just because Java is a nice choice. It's kind of, it opens a good set of options for you. But I don't think there's a technology for a job. There is a job and possible technologies for the job. So as we were saying, Java, it can be Node.js, or it can be Python, it can be, I don't know, Rust, whatever it is, right? So we have this first pre-work of Java and object-oriented programming and maybe some JS, JavaScript, and React. Then there's this front end that we're still like evaluating if we're going to focus in there, because it's a lot to achieve in a very tight timeline. So still under evaluation. Then the algorithms like BGO and mission time space. I actually applied myself to, well, I had several interviews with Google and Facebook at some point, and they're very focused and opinionated about this BGO things and the type of algorithms they want to evaluate from you. I was kind of frustrated in the first time because it was like, okay, I saw this in the university, I don't know, 15 years ago. Are you telling me that I need to go? Yes, absolutely. You need to go look back and look. The thing is that if you're building something like, I don't know, Gmail, of course you need to have in mind, let's say just a search engine, right? That the algorithm needs to be as performant as possible. So every loop really counts. It's very complex distributed systems. And then on the third week, we're like planning to go into the storage world, where you have like, I don't know, in here there are certain things like in the slide, right, related to patterns and ways to solve different type of challenges. But we're looking more into, is it a SQL database? Is it a NoSQL database? If you're planning to store, would you shard or not shard? Would you use a load balancer? Would it be a cache, or would it be like, there are so many different types of storage that you can have in mind. That is a challenge. Actually, you have another slide. Sorry about that. what's the next slide?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, no, don't worry. Go as you believe is appropriate. Don't worry.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And in the end, what we want to build is something that you like use all these skills, as Marcelo was commenting, right, that you would need in order to create something like, I don't know, maybe Amazon, the e-commerce site, or Uber Eats, or something similar, right? So there you have like different challenges. You need to have a cache, but then you need to have relational database, and maybe NoSQL databases for storing the logs, and to think about like maybe load balancers, and where do I deploy this? Am I going to use like AWS, or using containers or not containers, or maybe a platform as a service? So all these different things that you need to have in mind when you're building such a complex type of architecture like the ones you mentioned. That's the goal, and we are super excited about this, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna love it.
In your experience, like the way let me give you my opinion, and then you can give yours. The way that we think somebody should transition from no tech background into becoming a lead developer at a company. Of course, we're targeting Fortune 500, but there are over, I don't know, startups in the US, for example, that raise, I don't know, $300 million and are not still considered a 500 Fortune, of course. But those startups also, they have nice jobs and nice opportunities. So, if you want to get there, what we thought was like, yeah, if you want to start, you should go with a full stack and then the software engineering. Do you think there is a value in taking a second level program like this one after a full stack program, or you should actually build your career? I mean, you take the full stack program, and then you move on with a flow, pretty much, without going back to school again.
That's a very good question, and as almost any answer in tech, it depends, right? It depends. It is kind of a question that I think someone was making in the chat when you said these things about like skills or knowledge. So again, it depends. So sometimes pursuing the skill, then you get the knowledge in the path, right? So it doesn't mean that if you have a full stack kind of degree, you cannot get this type of job, or you cannot go and create a distributed system. It is more what you're capable of, right? What we're saying here is maybe we want to make your life easier. It's just like, for example, currently I'm preparing for the Kafka certification at this moment. I started to study and then practice and learn like all the different things. It doesn't mean that I don't know about Kafka, but I just want to have a curriculum, like a program that guides me into the right direction and makes my path or my way a little bit simpler. So that's kind of the thinking behind this type of programs, I think. It's just 5 cents from my side.
I agree. And do you think that a software engineer will always find a job in the market? Like, not in terms of individuals. Like, will you find a job? Of course, we never know. It depends on on you. But like, how you see the industry in that regard, the job industry for software engineers? Do you think that it's two questions? Do you think it's possible to become a software engineer, and do you think it's something that it always has job opportunities out there?
Cool. That's a challenging one. I can definitely say from my experience, this is the best career that you can choose right now. I'm pretty sure about this. I'm saying it with the hand in my heart. Like I truly believe that. If you can have a job or not, I mean, so sometimes it is just lucky, right? So sometimes you just have some luck and you find a job. Sometimes it is not that easy. But the possibilities and the possibilities are going to play with you instead of against you. I'm going to give you just a quick example. I was living in London. I lived there for like 1 year and a half, maybe almost 2 years, and we moved to Spain, to Madrid back in May this year. It was the lockdown and the COVID-19 craziness. Like, it was insane. And we came to Spain. I have my current. I'm still working with VMware. I just was transferred from the London office to Madrid. Nothing changed. But for example, my wife, she's also from the tech industry, but she's a project manager. She's like the other guys, right? And she immediately found a job. And I have other friends that are living in Spain that are in the tech field, and they have jobs. Most of them with proper salaries, but that's not maybe the case for other type of careers. So definitely there is a demand, and I would encourage you to go in Google and just search the statistics from Stack Overflow. And there's actually something that I found that was amazing for me, is a US institution, public institution, named the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And they say that the market is going to expand and it's going to grow by 22% in the next years to come. And the demand is huge. If you just, I don't know, open LinkedIn or whatever it is, and you look for tech jobs, there are plenty of opportunities, but maybe you look for, I don't know, although I'm not saying that those careers are good, I'm just saying that the opportunities are not that much. Maybe if you try to find a work as a lawyer or as an accountant, it's not going to be that easy. So definitely, software engineering.
Yeah, you can ask me. You can ask me. I graduated as a lawyer, and when I realized that I was tied up for one country, I was like, yeah, let's change careers, my man, because that's going to be complicated. Yeah. So, all right. So moving forward, we also have we're about to launch. We're actually launching the data science program next year. I think the conversation about our data science program started.
I think we lost Marcelo. Is it just me?
I think we just did. Yeah, he just got disconnected. Let's see if Anna tries to bring him back to life.
Yeah, I think he's back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Should we continue or? Okay. Yeah. Sure. So no worries. So okay, awesome. So I think I'll begin with an introduction. Again, my name is Charles Irizarry. I'm a co-founder of a company called Strata.ai. When we originally founded the company, and actually let me expand a little bit about me. Unlike most people that live in Miami, I was probably the one guy that was born and raised here. So a lot of
I'm back.
There he is. How you doing?
I'm back. I'm sorry, man.
No worries.
I left you all by yourself.
All good.
All good. Go ahead, buddy. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll keep going. So I started my career in software development. Probably at some point in high school, I found Java, or Java found me, and I long story short, and maybe over cocktails or a networking event, I'll tell you the full story. But it led to some activities that I took advantage of the school network using Java, exploited some security holes, got caught doing that, and instead of getting expelled, I was asked by the principal to put community hours into the school's IT infrastructure, and that's kind of how I really got into software development. After that, I started several different consultancy companies just focusing on software development. Built software. I went from Java into PHP, if anyone knows what that is, and kind of jumped in just before PHP had any real frameworks that it has today, like Cake PHP and others. Built an interesting startup that managed insurance claims and repair workloads with body shops. Ended up being sold to Geico, and I ended up selling the project, not the company. I didn't know what a startup was. I didn't know what it was to manage companies in that regard. And if I knew then what I knew now, I think I would have made a whole lot more money. But nonetheless, it was a great experience. And then fast forward a little bit future, I started a company called Untitled Chapter, which was a tech portfolio company. We would partner with different companies and be that kind of technical backbone to the company to help get a certain idea off the ground, or help enterprise companies implement a lot of the technical infrastructure that they needed. This is around 2012. We went public in 2016, and since then, I was an angel investor for several companies, advising CTO for others, and most recently, just really enamored and focused on, for the last probably 5 to 6 years, really focused on AI-enabled use cases or AI-enabled companies, high-growth companies. Is really kind of where I spent a lot of my time. And so when we found this Strata.ai, it was very much focused on developing AI technology. Specifically, we were looking at decision science, which is the era just above data science that focuses on, now that we've generated all these insights, now that we've gotten all this information about the business, let's start automating a lot of the intellectual decision making that gets done in that business, so that the business can operate much more efficiently, much more effectively. And then in the areas of AI, we really were excited about specifically computer vision. And the hypothesis there was, unlike an array of, let's say, IoT devices in a certain 3D space, you could use video to analyze and gather much of the same data that the IoT device could gather. And so when Marcelo was referring to the project that we did as a kind of pro bono for the Beacon Council in Miami-Dade, that project is called the Social Distancing Detector. And a lot of it was just to show people what you could do with computer vision. With that said, I had it ready here. Let me see if it's still in. Yeah, so I'm going to put the link in chat so that you guys can see. It's open source. It's free. You guys can download it and tinker with it, put your face on it, see what it does. But ultimately, the way it worked was you could connect a camera, or any type of video can be processed, and it'll identify uniquely all the humans in the screen. It'll identify whether they're wearing a mask, whether they're socially distant from each other. To Marcelo's point, it identifies whether you're a couple or a group of people that belong together. So it doesn't a false flag of flagging you for not being socially distant. It'll recognize that you're part of a group. We had a wonderful bug with AI where it thought my beard was a mask. So for a while, I had to teach it what beards look like and kind of just not count that as a mask on people. And most recently, what Strata.ai does is that we work with companies like Cemex, Televisa, who else? SafeBuilt, companies that have large operational challenges that they need to address. A lot of these challenges are typically what we call high intellectual tasks. They require some kind of human at a much higher level of software automation to make a decision or do something. And they need help in developing solutions, specifically in AI, that can automate, scale it, or better introduce efficiencies into that process. So we're very use case driven in that respect. Long story short, and how we met Marcelo when we got into this partnership was, for all the projects that we have, for all the clients that we have, for all the things that we try to do, we just don't have enough talent that knows practical applied machine learning, practical applied data science, or deep learning to help us execute these projects. And I think rightfully so, Marcelo sees that that's going to be the next major, if not already, demand in the market for that type of talent and skill set. I completely agree. I'm living it every day right now. We have projects with Televisa that we're focusing on that we just don't have enough people to execute on that project. And so one of the co-founders of Strata AI is a PhD candidate professor at the University of Waterloo. If no one knows, Toronto is the birthplace of modern day deep learning. And you know, as any entrepreneur, when we have a problem, we solve it. And so what we decided was to build an accelerated learning program that got you from Python to AI in production. That's the goal. So we broke it down to be stackable and modular into 5 modules. They're organized into data science for AI. And to kind of explain what that means is, a lot of the programs you see out there, they teach you about mining and cleaning data, how to prepare it. They may get into vectors. They may get into some linear algebra and presentation and kind of talking to the business stakeholder about that data. We do a lot of the same thing, and we keep going because you need to do a lot of stuff in data science to get ready for machine learning. Very specifically, you got to get to a place where you're taking data and turning it into operational vectors and multidimensional arrays that you can start training models. And we even get you to a place where you start training models in the first module of data science. After that, we get into machine learning. Then after that, we get into deep learning. And then the last 2 modules are very key from a soft skills perspective, which is practical topics in AI. We talk about security, explainability, which is a big issue in our space. A lot of CEOs will bang the table demanding that they need AI. When you deliver it, they don't understand how it works. They don't trust why it made a decision. It needs to be explained. A lot of fears come out, and we teach you how to manage that type of conversation. We get into ethics. Ethics is really big for us, especially now that more and more people are developing these AI solutions. And then the last module is AI in production. So we walk you through how to deploy this technology in a real production environment. And so the big difference about this program and maybe any other machine learning engineer is we stay away from a lot of the white paper academic stuff. We're talking about applied AI. More specifically, we teach you how to look for business use cases on when you should implement it and when you should not implement it. And that's a big value for the enterprise and companies, because this particular skill set, unlike maybe other technical roles, has a very business-facing aspect to it. And so a lot of the times when you're developing these solutions, you're working hand in hand in tandem with a business stakeholder, a decision maker, someone. And real quickly, some projects that we've worked on recently is, for example, with one company, we're using computer vision to analyze architectural blueprints. If anyone's familiar or knows what that looks like, they're very complicated documents with a lot of details in it, numbers and revisions, and they're all kind of not organized in any kind of left to right, bottom down kind of readability format. So, and a lot of times they're using handwritten words. So we built a computer vision model that is able to analyze, read that documentation, organize it, and classify it in a way that you can automate the process of reading this documentation. And so we run through these examples with you if you become a student in this course on how to develop solutions like that. And so we're really excited to be partnering up with 4Geeks because at the end of the day, we are more developers and engineers and consultants. And 4Geeks has been fantastic in terms of, I mean, the way I found them was just their record online and their prestige and their experience. And we really wanted to work with them to see if we could come together and see if we can start turning these newly minted Python developers and say, hey, you know, now that you have the foundations, now that you know Python, now that you've built a full stack app and you have that experience, you're among the prime candidates to actually continue on in a career of data science or even AI if you choose to go down that route. Because the prerequisites for this class is that you have to know Python, you have to know college level math to be successful in it, and so that's kind of how the partnership began. It continues to grow, and we're still kind of molding and shaping a lot of the aspects in the same way that you guys are probably doing. CB4 Geeks is probably doing it with Rodolfo. But the core goal for us, at least, is we need more people in the space. We need more people that know it, not just people that talk about it, not just people that like to read about it, but can actually develop things. And for those of you that know Python already or have some background in it, it's actually it's actually a very straightforward thing to get into. It's not as science fiction as the movies make it. You can't go kind of like general AI stuff. But we're talking about business-related use cases that really help enterprises be much more optimal, whether it's natural language processing. Another use case that we use there is that we use NLP to analyze IT support tickets and customer support tickets to better organize, sort, and auto-respond to those tickets and automatically solve them before they get to a human. That's another implementation of data science and NLP that we get into. Another one that we're doing now is we're analyzing media, and we're able to analyze the video to find faces in the video, whether it's an empty table or a sign on the wall in the scene, so that we can superimpose advertisements in those areas in real time based on who the user's looking at it. And these are all functionalities or use cases built by building deep learning models or machine learning models. So I think I'll stop there for questions, and I think I've covered a lot there, but that's ultimately what we're up to this Christmas. I think I'm going to be Marcelo's going to put me to work for the rest of the Christmas break, I think, making sure that we tidy this up, and I'm excited to be launching this with 4 Geeks next year.
Great. Charles, do you know that whenever we talk, or whenever you talk, you are so familiar with AI that people can get related to, like, yeah, of course, yeah, it's important, but
yeah,
AI and deep learning, every time that we say 2 or 3 words in the field combined, it is absolutely scary, like,
yeah,
deep learning components, like, I don't even, like,
yeah,
okay, somebody take care of that. Why do you believe it's actually, in simple words, why do you believe AI it's so important for our reality right now, and it's not something that it will happen in the future? It's not supersonics. It's not like 2030. We'll take care of that by then.
Yeah.
Why now?
The first thing I would like to do is set expectations on the definitions of AI. Right. AI, as I refer to it, is not like this idea of general AI, like iRobot or Star Wars and the stuff. We're talking about automation. The way I define AI is automation of highly intellectual tasks. That's what AI is in our definition. Very specifically, it's machine learning and deep learning. Why is it important now? Because it's everywhere now. Everything we're doing here, it's being analyzed by a machine learning algorithm. Your text, your autocomplete, which you're referring to, is probably the oldest known application of machine learning in technology today. But whether you have a Nest thermostat, or you are using email or on social media, or if you're buying food at the grocery store, you're being analyzed, you are being structured, you're being profiled, and you're being figured out how to either better sell to you, how to provide better experience to you, or a plethora of other services are being developed. So what I would say is that AI is here and it's ubiquitous. That's number one. And number two, we've only scratched the surface of it. So we're at the very beginning of what I refer to as like the age of AI, or the AI gold rush, so to speak. Now is the time to really cement and put your roots in place so that they can grow with the wave that it continues to go with. And mainly because most enterprises have not understood how to best bring this in or implement it in a way that is successful for them. It's actually surprisingly, as many companies that say that they have AI, they don't. They may have maybe complex data science related stuff, but maybe not true AI in that respect. And I think it's an important aspect that people are a part of that and cultivating that. And then to kind of add another dimension to that is there once was a time many, many years ago that if you knew how to use a typewriter, that was an edge for you. That's something that you put in your resume and say, I can use a typewriter. You fast forward, if you don't know how to type, if you can't use a computer, you can't get any job. Today, if you know how to develop as an executive or otherwise, that's a bonus to you. Tomorrow, if you don't know how to develop at every level, you won't be able to get a role. And I think the same thing is true with AI in that respect. You have to understand it. You have to know how to work with it. You need to know how to strategize with it. Because I think within the next 5 to 10 years, if your company is not truly AI enabled, you can't survive the marketplace. You won't be able to survive the competition. You won't be able to grow as fast as your competitors. You won't be able to provide the best service, which is ultimately what it bears down to, that complete customer experience is driven a lot by AI. And so that would be my response to that kind of question.
So it's pretty much possible to become an AI developer.
It's beyond possible.
Do you think that it's
necessary?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I think it's very important. One of the areas that is really being hit negatively with AI, for example, is actually cybersecurity. There's a lot of work and effort being built around there, and the fight is becoming very kind of AI versus AI. And so I think that is a great example of what's going to happen in other industries. Other people are going to be using AI to sell, market, whatever the case may be. And as the competing company, you have to also have your own kind of technologies in place to compete at that speed. Because remember, the most important thing about AI is that it can do what a human can do, just faster and more efficient. But unlike a human, it can't traverse different frameworks and solve for many things at one time. So you always need a human there, and you always need that person that knows how to manage, develop, and continue to extend that technology there. So the demand is not going to be so much about having that, expert that does this, but is that expert able to maintain the model that is running the business? And I think that's an important aspect to consider.
And then we have the conversation about, are robots taking over humans in the next few years? And I remember there was a conference where the question was being addressed to the CEO of Alibaba, the Chinese multi-million company, and to Elon Musk at the same time. And at the same time, they both answered yes, no.
Yeah.
Like completely opposite. But I don't want to go there. Yesenia was asking, do you think there is a psychology effect on this? She's referring when you mentioned that the program uses NLPs. So do you think that programming the tech using psychology principles has an effect on?
Yeah, I think that reminds me of a detail, a piece of data point. A lot of the most successful students in our classes are students who are pivoting away from a certain logical science. So whether it's psychology, mathematics, physics, or what was the other one? We even had a neuroscientist take the course. So when they pivot away from that to kind of the data science AI, it's a great contrast to the work that we do there. Now, going to NLP and psychology. So I think there's two layers to consider there. When you start data science, let's say, which is kind of the beginning of everything, really what you're focusing on is turning data into information, and then after it becomes information, you turn it into knowledge. So there's a very famous pyramid of wisdom that I recommend you guys Google real quick. It's just a little diagram that explains kind of the different levels of information and data. As a data scientist, your job is to get it from raw data, whether it's in a PDF or in a database somewhere, bring it together, label it, and turn it into information. And then once it's information, as a data scientist, you turn that into knowledge. So insights, pattern recognition, and understanding customer buying behaviors, which has a lot of psychology into it. An example that we use there, and I think psychology is a big part of it, is building models to predict churn. And what that means that if you have a subscription business, depending on the activities of the customers, you can predict which one's going to quit the service. And if that's the case, then you start to define triggers or activities that you can do to engage that customer to stay on for longer without a human getting involved. And so that's one level. And then you get to the final level, which is wisdom, where you teach an AI model to help you do that. But it all requires a human to kind of guide it to that process.
Yeah. We have been talking for over an hour, so I want to start summarizing, and I started to see that I have like 4 or 5 slides more, and I don't want to spend so much time on the slides. I think that we're having a beautiful conversation. There was a question that I wanted to ask to Rodolfo. Somebody asked in YouTube that if you think, well, you can also answer that, Charles, if you think that remote jobs are going to be growing in the next few years. I'm guessing that as a consequence of COVID. I of course have my answer, but I want to hear your opinion on
that. Thank you for asking. And the answer is absolutely. Actually, before joining Pivotal, I worked for almost 4 years remotely as a software engineer. And then I moved to Pivotal. I was in the office at that time. But then when I came to Spain, all my team is in London and in Ireland and Germany, so I'm remote. The company, which is just, I think it's the reflect of the industry, said we are going, we are foreseeing that at least 60-70% of our workforce is going to be remote, 100% remote, and the other 30 or 40%, depends on how you see it, is going to be on-site and remote kind of mix. So the answer is absolutely. If you see like Facebook and Zoom and Quora and Reddit, all these like big companies, they are also shifting into a remote type of first company. So yes, absolutely.
Just to give you an example, in 4 gigs, I think 80% of the people work remote. Right now, 100%. But that's not because of COVID. But on regular terms, what's happening after is that 80-90% of the people will be working remote. We have an office. We have 2 offices in Florida. Then we have 1 office in Caracas, 1 in Santiago, 1 in Madrid, 1 in Costa Rica. It's like that. There's no coming back from that. You know, it's only growing. And see, we can watch or read the news about how many startups in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley are running away of the rent expenses that they have over there, and the amount of money that you spend. Of course, I think there's a big component of culture and I don't know, brand awareness and connect your team and your culture all together that it's attached to being in person. But there are different ways to be in person. So in the worst case, they're going to be at least 50% of the time remote in the coming years, because that's how it is. And also there's a beautiful component about how respected is now to work from home. Because I remember like 1 year ago, my family was like, yeah, today I'm working from home. And they were like, yeah, he's here, you know, like he's not working today. And I was like, no, actually I am, just from here, you know. Right now, everybody has their own office, their own things, you know, their own activities, and that's being respected everywhere. Roger was also asking before the difference between skills and knowledge. I don't know if either of you want to jump in and answer that one. Maybe Charles.
Yeah, I actually was itching to answer that one. it's interesting because it kind of hits home in the conversation that we're talking about, the course that we're doing. I think skills and knowledge, you need both. And the way that I would organize skills and knowledge is skills is being able to execute on a given task or need. That's an actual skill that you have. And then knowledge is knowing when to use that skill versus another skill, when and why, and kind of the framework to use that. And I would say that's how you would organize the two things. In our case, we have a skill of developing AI. We can develop models to predict certain behaviors, whatever the case would be. But the knowledge that provides value, because on one hand, we get hired for our skills, but I think what really drives value to the companies is that we don't come in saying that we can do everything with AI. We have the knowledge to know what is the right time, when is the right place to use that AI for the most amount of value for that company. And that knowledge is what they really pay for it. Yeah. That's how it works.
And I think, yeah, they're related. I mean, it's not one or the other one. Right now, if you're not in tech or if you're not a developer, I would say that you should focus more right now in the skills, and then the knowledge will come after. Sometimes we see our students building projects and they don't know what's going on, but they know how to do it. You know, it's when they fail or when it works, like after 5 trials or 20 trials, that they come to the conclusion that this works because of, you know, like the logical process. The logical process at the end is the ultimate goal of programs like this one. You have, failure is a great tool. Yeah, that's actually one of the things that you're gonna find in 4 gigs is that you're gonna be failing a lot, and then because that's how it is. Like, you don't know, that's why you're here. I'm not being negative about it. It's like you're getting help. But the sense of awareness that comes after achieving that result, it's beautiful. I just wanted to say that everything that we have mentioned today in terms of programs, before we say goodbye, everything that we have mentioned part-time. Our programs take 16 weeks at least. For the data science, it'll take 25 probably. You should focus, like, we want you to keep your life and your job or your family commitments or your college degree ongoing. But you should plan to spend at least 20 hours per week in working with assignments and projects right here. Yeah, I can see you now. I don't know if anybody has any other questions, but I didn't want to spend more time than, like, we exceeded already the hour that I had in my mind. I even thought that it was 45, 50 minutes, and now we have like 70 minutes already. If anybody else has any other questions, please address them now or reach out to us. There's one last message that I want to highlight here. If you are thinking about jumping into one of the specializations as a software engineer, or making your entry level in the full stack, or becoming a specialist in data science or AI, one of the main obstacles that you're going to find is, what if I fail? Is the question of, what if I fail? What if I waste my time or my money? First, you're not wasting it. Like, becoming a specialist or becoming a developer, it's not a waste of your time. Then you will have lifetime access to this. So we never stop teaching you. So if you fail, we're going to repeat it. If you don't get it, we're going to have one-on-one sessions. If you don't understand something, we're going to practice 20 times more with you. Because the only goal that we have is actually that you achieve the level of skills that you need to perform as a developer, software engineer, or data science specialist. So don't be afraid of that, you know? And then you'll find if you're really hardworking, if you're a hardworking person, if you are really committed, if you really put the time, you will have the opportunity to get a new job or your income, because that's how it goes. I'm not like, I've been doing this for a while already, many years, and I know how it works. if you take it seriously and if you're really committed to it, then you'll get the opportunity. Because I mean, the market is there. It's not because 4 gigs is super special. I mean, I do believe that we have something good, but it's actually because of the market that offers many possibilities to all of you. Yeah. So I'm trying to read the chat box. Adonis. So how? I think that's for you, Charles. Adonis is asking for. Our remote has allowed onto the research.
Yeah, it was more of a statement because in my field of work, I'm noticing the increase in add-on to the topic, which, by the way, great webinar and great information you guys were sharing here. I'm noticing in LATAM, there's that remote work, the digital transformation has really increased their reach, right? So if you talk about these smaller areas, LATAM, so we're talking about Aruba, Bermuda, all these small little islands, that this on-premise work, the thought of on-premise work without work has kind of limited them for talent. Because a lot of times when we engage these types of clients, they're like, man, we're reaching out to U.S. markets, we're getting talent, to help us become a bigger organization. And here in Aruba, as an example, where population is probably just as big as Miami, as an idea. So I think it's also pushing AI, because now they're getting smarter. They're like, wait a minute, because we're getting these other talents from other markets. Aruba's getting talent from Colombia. Roto, they may, maybe they engage you guys. They're seeing that, what? Now we need to be smarter. Now we got good talent. Now we need to be smarter, and AI is assisting in there, right? So I hear a lot of dialogue on, hey, how do we make this process more streamlined and more intelligent?
Yeah.
So I think you guys provide. I think there's a market to provide value and increase the AI, AI in these industries.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Any final thoughts, Rodo, Charles?
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. It was great to also hear from Rodolfo and kind of see all the different programs. And thank you to the audience, Adonis, everyone, for such great questions and kind of engagement. It was awesome.
Absolutely. Just subscribing Charles' works, and very happy to be here. Looking forward for the next event.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. You have our information there, Charles. But also, if you want to leave your emails or information here for them to share or reach out to you, feel free. Thanks again, and Happy New Year, probably. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. It's happening, everything. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.